We're good. We ring this bell to come together as one and to affirm the peace that we hope for in this world. Oh, that's such a great song that Cyndi Lauper wrote, and so appropriate today. Good morning, all you beautiful people out there, and welcome to Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Prescott, Arizona. I'm Sukey Jones, your worship associate this morning. We extend a warm welcome to all. We're glad you're able to join us and hope you are in good health. We want to stay connected, so please join us for the breakout rooms after the service. This is a great opportunity to catch up with friends you haven't seen for a while, or maybe even meet some people you haven't had a chance to meet before. If you're joining us for the first time, please check out our website for more information about us. That would be prescottuu.org. As usual, this service is being recorded, and if you want to see it again or share it with others, follow the link to our YouTube channel found in the Granite Peak weekly newsletter or in the order of service, which arrived in your email this morning along with the Zoom link. I've had people tell me they didn't know where to find the order of service. This is the mission statement of our congregation. We are a compassionate, spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. We extend our thanks today to Heather Knowles for technical support, and we welcome and thank Molly Freibott, our speaker today. Her message will be gratitude for the abundance of diversity in the Quad Cities, challenges and promises. Molly has a passion for organizing and managing programs that support community and faith-based programs, especially those for under-supported populations. She serves as chair of the Quad City Interfaith Council, QCIC, and is the co-founder of the Greater Yavapai County Coalition, GYCC, an umbrella organization providing support to members and allies of the LGBTQ community. You may recall we support GYCC with our Seeds of Support each year. Molly loves baking, gardening, and running, so stick around after the service and maybe you can get her to share some favorite recipes and garden tips, along with her deep knowledge of the Prescott area. We also welcome and thank her sign language interpreter, Nate Senny. Both use the pronouns she, her. And we welcome Nate if she can get her internet working out there in Chino Valley, and our sympathies with all of the folks out there that are having internet issues with Sparklight. Although we are physically apart, we are still in community, and we continue with some of our meetings and activities via the internet. Please continue to check the Weekly Peak, our website, and Reverend Patty's videos for announcements. And join our regular Zoom meetings, the Wednesday forum, the Wednesday afternoon book discussion, and Friday lunch with the minister. Children's Faith Development will be today at 11:30 via Zoom. Additional details and announcements are in the order of service. We begin our service in the Unitarian Universalist tradition of lighting the chalice. And the arm that you see will be Fred Krapps, who's helping light the chalice today. With these words by Linda Lee Franson and Lori Gorgas-Laban, let us remember the battles fought for LGBTQ rights. We light this flame for those who have been ridiculed, that they may find peace. For those who have fought to marry, that they may celebrate. For those who live in uncertainty in the world, that they may have hope. We light this flame to renew our commitment that no one shall ever again suffer for the right to love. We light this flame for all our siblings of the rainbow, surviving, living life out in the open with pride. We light this flame to celebrate our kaleidoscope of diversity, working, loving, and living on the side of love. Y'all might not realize it, but when Reverend Patty is absent on Sunday, the Worship Associate puts together many elements of the service. So as I worked at this, I was thrown back into the 1980s when I was somewhat involved with the gay community in Phoenix. And it's been amazing to reflect on how much has changed for the better since then, but also how much more needs to occur. This morning, I invite you to listen to words from the LGBTQ community. First, let us sing with gusto our opening hymn, Singing for Our Lives by Holly Near, and sung by the Gay and Lesbian Association for Choruses. There's a brief introduction, and then the first line is, "We are a gentle, angry people." And the last stanza starts, "We are a peaceful, loving people."
Closely on the heels of the newly formed women's choruses, gay men began to gather informally and sing. In the fall of 1978, a group of gay men banded together to form the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus. Just a few weeks later, a tragic twist of fate brought them into the international spotlight.
On November 27th, San Francisco Mayor George Moscone and supervisor and gay rights activist Harvey Milk were assassinated.
In response to this horrific and heartbreaking crime, a candlelight vigil was organized on the steps of San Francisco City Hall, and the men of the Young Chorus gathered for their first impromptu and public performance. Thousands of people flocked to the vigil, and when CNN broadcast the banner San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus to the TV-watching world, the LGBT choral movement took flight.
LGBT activist Holly Near penned "Singing for Our Lives" in her car on the way to the candlelight vigil. It was created in honor of Harvey Milk and was sung for the first time by the mourners gathered.
Singing
And please now join me in reciting our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, thus do we covenant together. Today, instead of joys, I'm going to focus on sorrows. Sorrow for the all too many and all too often forgotten lives lost each year to anti-gender violence. Yesterday was the annual Transgender Day of Remembrance, begun in 1998 to honor those lost to senseless acts. Today, let us hear the names of our fellow American citizens who in 2019 were shot, stabbed, run over, or strangled because of who they were. Tidy Dansbury, Kelly Stowe, Dana Martin, Ellie Marie Washtok, Jazeline Ware, Claire Legato, Malaysia Booker, Michelle Washington, Paris Cameron, Chanel Lindsay, Johanna Mediano Leon, Cecilia Cranko, Chanel Skurlock, Zoe Spears, Brooklyn Lindsay, Denali Berry Stuckey, Tracy Single, Bubba Walker, Jordan Kofer, Pebble Ladime Doe, Italy Marlowe, Alicia Stanley, Brianna Hill. So many names, and how many more in 2020. Let us pause for a moment to remember these lives and to speak into the silence the names of those among us who we carry in our hearts today. And now a prayer from Reverend Patty, followed by a video which introduces us to a bit more of LGBTQ history.
This morning, as we hold our joys and sorrows, let us especially hold among us the Transgender Day of Remembrance. Let us breathe together and think of the transgender people whom we have loved in this community. On this day, we mourn those who have lost their lives because of prejudice, misunderstanding of gender. As we mourn, we celebrate their courage in being who they were, a courage that took them into danger. May their lights shine bright in the hearts of those who loved them. May the world open and transform so that daring to be free will be rewarded rather than punished. May we seek to deepen our own understanding. And on this day, may we pause and remember those who are not here. May we learn to be protectors and siblings and friends. May we learn the ways of justice, using our privilege to shelter and bring peace. Amen.
The rainbow wasn't always the symbol for LGBTQ pride. In fact, the iconic flag wouldn't show up until almost a decade after Stonewall. This is the real history of the rainbow pride flag. During Pride, the rainbow flag is everywhere. On shirts, floats, corporate logos, you name it. So what's the origin of the rainbow flag? To understand the pride flag's history, we're going all the way back to World War II with the pink triangle. Like the Jewish Star of David, the triangle was used to mark LGBTQ prisoners in concentration camps. Then, the triangle's meaning evolved. Long after the war, the LGBTQ rights movement adopted the triangle as a symbol of pride. But in 1978, Harvey Milk stepped in. A San Francisco city councilman, he was the first openly gay elected official. Milk wanted a symbol that didn't have such a traumatizing past, that could be welcomed to all members of the community. Enter Gilbert Baker, artist, Army vet, drag queen. Baker created the very first rainbow pride flag, and people would later call him the gay Betsy Ross. Woo, what a title. Baker picked the rainbow because he wanted it to symbolize our diversity in race, gender expression, and age. And he might have also recognized the importance of a certain Judy Garland song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, to our community. Baker rounded up 30 of his friends, took over the Gay Community Center in San Francisco, and got to work, dyeing thousands of yards of cotton. They sewed together these massive pieces, and we got this: two 30 by 60 foot flags that were flown in United Nations Plaza during Pride. One American flag with the stripes turned rainbow, and the iconic flag we all know, with a few extra stripes than what we see today. The first Pride flag actually had 8 colors, each stripe with a different meaning: gender, life, healing, sunlight, nature, art, harmony, and spirit. But the flag kept changing. Hot pink and indigo got dropped because they cost too much to be mass produced. Over the years, different groups have come up with their own flags: a trans flag, a bi flag, a straight ally flag, even a flag for bears. Hey, nice. There's even a new flag that blends the trans flag with an updated rainbow flag that includes a black and brown stripe to recognize people of color and the LGBTQ community. Baker loved seeing different interpretations of the flag. The whole reason Milk and Baker wanted a flag in the first place was to have something by and for the community. However it evolves, the flag is always meant to reflect the times and be more inclusive. That's why it'll never be finished, and always grow to be more welcoming of all the identities and individuals in our amazing LGBTQ community. Share this video if you support inclusivity for everyone.
As we prepare to take the offering this morning, let us embrace the feeling of connection and community that we have when we gather each week. Let us remember that this congregation and its programs are supported by your generosity. We also give back to the greater community through our seeds of support. Our annual Link Breakfast is the recipient this month. And there are many ways that you can participate in this annual event, even though it's being done as a drive-through. So please check the order of service for some of those ways. Don't forget. And to give during this distance time, go to prescottuu.org. On the bottom left side, click the word donate to contribute. The link is also available on the chat in this video. What is given in love is received in gratitude. Blessed be. Please enjoy now this musical favorite, Over the Rainbow by Judy Garland. That song always brings back memories of the first time I was in the movie theater with my mother watching that, and the flying monkeys terrified me. For our reading today, I've chosen a piece by Alex Capitan. Alex is a lay community minister, organizer, educator, and editor, and the co-leader of the Transforming Hearts Collective. And the reason I've chosen this is that you have a wonderful opportunity to learn from Alex through our program beginning Wednesday, December 12th, called Transforming Hearts. People in our congregation who have participated in this have raved about it, so we're offering it a second time. Look for details in today's order of service and in upcoming weekly newsletters, and please register. It will be time well spent. Choice by Alex Capitan. I want to talk about choice. I want to talk about the fact that just because someone who is out to destroy you says you chose to be that way, or you chose to be the way you are, does not mean the path of best protection is to counter with, no, I didn't. It's not a choice. I was born this way and I've always been this way. Is who I am, my sexuality, my gender, a deep and real part of me, close to my soul? Yes. Are there choices involved? Of course there are. I have made one choice after another to feel more at ease, more vibrant, more alive. I chose to change my name. I chose to allow myself to open to the idea that I might be attracted to women. I chose to open myself to the idea that, first of all, genderqueer people exist. Second, that I might be one. And third, that I might be attracted to other genderqueer folks. After all of this, I chose to remain open to the idea that I was still attracted to men and might actually like being in a relationship with one. If I hadn't made these choices, I never could have lived into my full, authentic self. And you know, there are some things that are more attractive to me than gender. I'm attracted to feminists. I'm attracted to queer people and radicals. I'm attracted to people who are assertive and like to make decisions. Is any of this biologically hardwired into me? Probably not. Is all of it impacted by culture? Definitely. But do I have every right to pursue relationships and experiences with whoever I want because it's my body and my sexuality? Yes. It doesn't matter who I seek intimacy, ecstasy, joy, or camaraderie with. Sexuality is sacred. Love is sacred. If anyone ever tries to invalidate you or the way you seek intimacy by saying, it's just a choice, tell them choice is sacred. Tell them that in your faith tradition, we don't love people despite their differences or because they can't help being different. We love people because of their differences and because diversity enriches our world and our communities. Tell them that in the final reckoning, there is only one choice that will be judged, and that's their choice. Tell them you hope they choose love.
Thank you for having me. My name is Molly Freibott. I am part of the deaf and hard of hearing community. I was just going to kind of tell you a little bit about that. Normally, I have an interpreter, and their name is Nate Senny. There we go. And today, their internet is down in Chino, so they're not here. So normally, you would see in the corner a little picture. Nate would be there and it'd be signing ASL for me. You'll notice I do use my voice. There's such diversity in the deaf and hard of hearing community. Some of us speak, some of us don't speak. Some of us do use ASL and some don't. Normally, when I first introduce myself, because I use my voice, I don't sign. And the reason I usually do that is because people then get very nervous and they're afraid to talk to me a little bit. So I want you to know that I do read lips very, very well. So be careful if you start talking about me, I can read you. If I can see you, I can probably understand you. So I just wanted to let you know that. And thank you for welcoming me today. And our topic today of gratitude for diversity is just exactly what we need to hear today. And I want to thank GPUU especially just for being the place that is always welcoming to all people, whether they are hard of hearing, whether they're deaf, whether they're LGBTQ, whether they are of a different faith or color, it doesn't matter. We all know that we are welcomed here, and we want to thank you for that. And again, my name is Molly Freibott. I am the Director of Operations at, are you ready? The Greater Yavapai County Coalition. It's the worst name you ever thought of for a 501c3. It's too long and nobody can spell Yavapai on the internet. So we were all volunteers and newbies to the 501c3 world when we first started it. So we go by GYCC. It's a lot easier to spell. It's a lot easier to sign too. Anyway, we started GYCC about 6 years ago in the process, and GYCC is here to support underrepresented populations. And the reason we started it was specifically for LGBTQ populations. At the time, we just could not find the help and support and resources that we needed. And though there were a lot of great places doing things here and there, they weren't able to communicate, and there wasn't a central place or an umbrella where we could go to find information as parents, as friends, as allies. And you may be wondering why a cis, female, white, straight person is here to talk to you about diversity, inclusion, and the LGBTQ community. Good question. I will let you know. It's odd, I know, but I am the Director of Operations in a very shallow pyramid. GYCC has a bunch of great people. We have a very diverse board, and I just happen to be the one on the paperwork right now. I was a co-founder. Many of you know Chris Duarte. He is just a pillar of the community and has done amazing things both for LGBTQ and everyone else in our community. And I co-founded GYCC with him. And then 2 years ago, he got a phone call from a little college called Harvard and was invited to be in a special program there. And so he has been following that dream, and he's still here in the community doing amazing things. But I am now sitting in that position for him. So I wanted to kind of take you back a little bit and tell you how I got here. When we first moved to Prescott, it's about 2007, and I had a 11 and 9-year-old at the time. When my youngest son was 10, he was diagnosed with leukemia, ALL, pre-B common. And so we spent the next 7.5 years doing chemo. We were a chemo family. Leukemias are a little different than other cancers because the children are usually in the hospital 3 out of 4 weeks. And if we weren't in the hospital, we would stay at Ronald McDonald House, which is just an amazing charity. We were down in Phoenix on Vernon, Virginia, or we were staying in the hospital, both St. Joe's and Phoenix Children. So Nick was diagnosed when he was 10. He had a relapse when he was 13. So that was 7.5 years. So we homeschooled as a choice, but also as necessity, because kids who have leukemia don't get to go to public school. Their education really suffers. So, and because by homeschooling, then my older child could be with us and we got to stay as a family. When we didn't, when we weren't living down in Phoenix, when we got to come home on weekends and sometimes on breaks, we homeschooled with a group, and we got together with about 8 to 10 kids, about 4 families, and we'd hire a teacher if we needed it, or we'd teach ourselves. And that's how we started meeting our other kids. So I have 6 kids now. 4 of them we adopted as teens when they were kicked out of their homes for being gay. Our first one came to us. He was a homeschooling friend, and his parents decided to move out of state, left him in his grandparents' basement with no supervision. He was a sophomore in high school, so we took him in with us. About a year later, he came out as gay. Now, we were involved, very involved in a local church, and my kids were involved in the youth group. They loved their youth pastors. They were very involved. Our son, Toby, he wanted to be a pastor. That was his thing. He was very attached to the mentors and the pastors at this church. Well, when he came out as gay, my husband and I are like, okay, we've got this. We're going to get together with everybody, Team Toby. We're all going to surround him. We're going to love him through this, and we're just going to move on. Unfortunately, that is not what happened. Every single one of those pastors, every mentor, every adult told my son to his face that he was now going to hell in many different ways. Not only that, they refused to speak with him. They refused to talk with him unless they were preaching at him. And so he lost not only his own family, a lot of his friends, and all of his mentors. About a couple weeks after that, we had distanced ourselves a bit from that organization. And I got a phone call from one of his friends that had attended church, and they said, Toby and Molly, you got to be careful. The pastor just announced from his pulpit your son's name, where he is, where he lives, and that he needs to be talked to after preaching that all gays should be put on an island and destroyed. So that was our lives for about 2 years. That was about 6 years ago in our town in Prescott Valley. That establishment organization is still here. We were tracked down on internet and threatened because, of course, all parents of gays should be killed. We had to hide on Facebook. We had to be careful that he was safe at school. Fortunately, our local 4-H, believe it or not, in Dewey was super supportive of him. And if he ever had a threat at the high school, the 4-H boys would all show up after school and just make sure things were okay. But that was our first adopted son, Toby. About a year later, I came home with my family from dinner, and we had another teen curled up in a fetal position on our front porch, bawling his eyes out because his family had decided to kick him out in the middle of the night with the clothes on his back in a rural area, because obviously if he had nothing, no food, no shelter, and had to run from coyotes, he would choose not to be gay. This child also identified as a Christian, was very close in his church, loved Jesus. So there was our second one. And since then, we have adopted and had in our home 5 of teens. Our next teen was dropped off in Prescott in the square in the middle of a snowstorm. He was a Christian kid, church kid, choir kid, no behavioral problems, no drugs, no alcohol, left out in the storm. Fortunately, by that time, GYCC had a good net, and someone in the community saw him and was able to get to him quickly before he became a victim of all the things that happen to kids on the street within 48 hours. So my particular experience has been with kids of faith. They usually come out, or the parents find out that they're having that they are gay about when they're 18, and so that's when we start to see that problem of them being thrown on the streets. We had no idea that kids were being thrown out on the streets just for being gay. Here we are, in the hospital, and my son's fighting for his life, and they have perfectly healthy kids that they're kicking out in the middle of the street for being gay. We found this out when we were down in Phoenix working with the homeless population, and there was a married couple, 2 men, that their ministry was to drive around the streets, the homeless area of Phoenix, and pick up church kids who'd been kicked out of their homes onto the street with nothing for being gay. And that was our first experience. We had no idea this was happening, especially in a modern world. And we were from a bigger city. We just didn't even conceive it. So when Nick was done with treatment, and he is done, by the way, my son is doing great. He's healthy, he's cancer free, and he's a second-year nursing student at Yavapai. Huzzah, yay. When we got home, and really just got to be home for a while, which I'm saying is about 4 years ago, and live at home and not go down for treatment. We got to see a little thing that was kind of scary. It was a little bit like being in the 1950s in the civil rights movement, where it seemed to be okay for anyone to throw out anyone who is gay. And we were unaware at the time too that in the state of Arizona, there are no protections for the LGBT community unless they're in one of 5 cities. So anyone can be fired from their job, kicked out of their apartment or home, just for being gay. In fact, you can walk up to them and say, "You're gay, we're firing you." And that is what exists in Arizona right now. There's only 5 cities: Tempe, Sedona, Phoenix. Can't think of the other 2 right now. But that's a reality that is happening here. So once we got back home and we started noticing, and we got our kids ourselves, we also had a terrible time trying to find support and help. The Pride Center in Phoenix, in Prescott, had been shut down, and there wasn't a single place where we could go and find information. And we couldn't really find anyone at all in the faith community that was willing to work with our kids, and couldn't find anywhere to attend that would take our kids. And so that's when I was able to meet Chris. I met Chris at a PFLAG meeting in Sedona, finally found them, drove out. It was cold and windy and rainy. It took me an hour to get there. And I ended up finally finding a group of 15 people that sat there and let me bawl my eyes out and talk about my gay kids and how amazing they were and how wonderful they were, and how no church, no organization, no one would accept them and love them. And where did we go? And so Chris and I got together and through trial and error came up with a crazy name, the Greater Yavapai County Coalition. But anyway, we got our 501c3 about 18 months later. The state of Arizona saw the name LGBTQ in our title and decided it would be God's work if one of them took it and put it in a drawer and didn't pass any of our paperwork. So we had to call the ACLU and work with the state of Arizona. And suddenly overnight, the entire board met and approved our 501c3 status, but they actually changed our name. So we no longer have LGBTQ in our legal title, but it is on our paperwork. So if you're wondering, the state of Arizona right now, that was 4 years ago, we now have paperwork that reads different than our 501c3 does, because they were unwilling to have an LGBT organization as a 501c3. So once we got all that done and taken care of, we were able to get started in our community. And here's where the gratitude starts. We have an amazing LGBTQ community. We have a very large trans population. If you look at the statistics for other areas, we're really high. We have lots of wonderful people who live here. Some of it is because we have veterans, more veterans. Almost everyone here is a veteran, which is wonderful. And we tend to have a higher number of vets that identify as trans. We have a vibrant and wonderful community. When we first started out, we were focusing on getting shelter, food, and food, shelters, support, and suicide prevention. Those were our main objectives. From my perspective, we were just picking up kids that were rejected by their churches, homes, and family and trying to place them. We were helping with adults, veterans, and those experiencing homelessness that would go to a shelter and be refused from the shelter because they didn't know what to do with them. Where do you put a trans person? Do they go to the men's unit? Do they go to Salvation Army? Do they go to PAS? A lot of them were just being refused and ended up on the streets. So these were the problems that were facing us. This was before the last election. And at the time, we had a lot of support groups, a lot of meetings, a lot of just really open, wonderful times. We had a picnic where it said LGBTQ on the sign. And we were really getting to start doing fun events. And we were getting to really just focus not just on food, shelter, and basics, but on living and serving the community. And that was really wonderful. And then everything changed. And we had the election. And if you're not quite in touch with how much that changed everything, we no longer list our meetings and the time and place on anything. If you would like to know where one of our support groups or meetings or trans kids can meet, you have to go through me. And when we meet, we have a flashing light out on the gate. That's the only symbol that we have that those people are meeting there. All of the places like our PFLAG and our other support groups that we had where we were getting 20 to 25 people showing up, nobody came. They weren't showing up because they were afraid of being identified when they walked in. They were afraid of someone seeing them and locating them. They were afraid of losing their jobs, losing their housing. The GSAs, which are the Gay Straight Alliances that we were able to form in the high schools, we shut those down because nobody would come. We had people tearing down the posters, following us to our cars. We had teachers refusing to work with them. Most of it was staff related when we had the GSAs. And when I was, I'm looking at my notes here for a second so I could catch up. Food shelter program. Yeah, the GSAs. We started going back to the basics, and that's really where we are today. We're at suicide prevention, food, shelter. Fortunately, we were able as GYCC to go into the shelters and do education and help train people so that they knew what to do when an LGBTQ person or a trans person came in to secure that. And all of the shelters have been really wonderful with us. We work with first responders. We work with the Yavapai crisis response team. There you go. We work with FEMA. We work with the Emergency Food and Shelter Program. We work with suicide prevention, MAP Force, all of those first responders that work in emergencies. And we really get to work with them on how to respond to the trans and gay community. However, in recent times, it has become very acceptable to express hate, to express the lack of acceptance. We all know about the response to one Black teenager's wish to walk in the square to support Black Lives Matter that was met in our town with hate, anger, spitting, screaming, cursing, and armed presence. This last year, we had a student write a video, film a YouTube video that went viral all over the nation where they said, all trans people should die, and if they came to Prescott High, they would get together and beat them up on campus. These are the things that we're currently responding to. I get 3 or 4 suicide call preventions a week myself. We trained our entire staff and our board in suicide prevention and mental health first aid, in youth mental health first aid, so that we were available. And now we work with first responders. I want to talk about, all the progress we've made. Yes, those programs for help and support and resources are all there. We've started a group called Faith Bridge, which provides inclusive faith connections. And that's what brought me to Quad City Interfaith Council, which is a group of about 40 different faiths that get together and meet monthly. When I first attended that, I introduced myself as the spokesperson of GYCC and that I was with the LGBTQ plus community. And for about 6 months, whenever I spoke, there were members that turned their chairs around every time I spoke. So that was about 2 years ago. Funny, now the GYCC's Faith Bridge is chair for the Quad City Interfaith Council. So that has been a lot of progress. A lot of it was about education. Diversity is absolutely necessary in our community. The LGBT community, the deaf community, the Black community, we're already there. I think exposure and getting to know people and just serving alongside of people is what has made that difference. So now Faith Bridge has chaired Quad City Interfaith for 2 years, and that's been a huge change. We have support and love from all these churches. We now have an inclusive faith list that includes 14 churches, temples, from everything from from our Jewish community to the Muslim community. We've got a list of those people which we vetted and gone to, and we make sure that there's a community member available so that when I get a call about a teen who has been outed at their youth group and is about to get blasted by their faith leaders, we can take them out and put them in a safe place. So GPUU has always been our safe place. You were one of the 2 people that would take one of my gay babies back 6 years ago when I had 10 kids, all of whom wanted to go to church, but nobody would take them and it wasn't safe for them. So there's a lot to be grateful for. We are now sitting on a lot of different places, and we are in the community working hard side by side with first responders, but there's a lot of work to do. I'm going to share with you in closing, well, the situation with our family. About a year ago, we got our first daughter, and we were introduced to her through suicide prevention, and I'm an ASSIST certified suicide intervention specialist, and we were working with the police, and so I had several interactions with this family, and we were able to take this person out of a very abusive and dangerous situation. That was a year ago, and I have not done any public speaking engagement since then. No internet, no Facebook. We don't talk about this person. They're not on any of our family engagements. You don't get to know anything about this person. And that is because of the state of our local area right now. So this person does identify as trans, and I'm that fearful for them. I was asked if I would talk to someone who was anti-gay or anti-trans, would I be willing to discuss with them? And I mentioned a while ago that my neighbors were flying the Trump flags and everything, which is their right, nothing. We have a great relationship with them. However, they know nothing about the situation with my child. And I was asked, would you be willing to sit down with your neighbor and have a conversation with them about this? And my answer right now is no, I will not. I will continue to hide my child. I will continue to protect. At this point, when we have teens and high school students who are calling us and asking us, should I come out? Should I just tell my teachers, tell my friends, tell my youth group? Our answer is no. Let's talk about it. Our answer is let's wait a bit. Let's get some support. Let's make sure that you have a place to stay in case you're kicked out. Let's make sure that you're not met with anger, hate, and spitting in the town square when you carry a rainbow flag. I am sorry to have to tell you this, but right now we are in hiding a lot of our trans and LGBT community. We're not out and active as much as we used to be, and our organization is not recommending that we be out and active until things get a little better. Your latest grant for us has been wonderful. That money goes to protection and that money goes to help those that are being kicked out, those that are being refused shelter, those that are being refused resources. Most of our trans people that we have locally, I'm really sorry to say, we raise money and we send them to Phoenix. They do very well there. In fact, our baby, we will be sending her to Phoenix and letting her be in an area that's safer for her. So when we talk about opportunities, there are lots of them. There is lots of wonderful support. This is not the whole community representative. There are a few people who are making a lot of noise and causing a lot of problems that need to receive education and love. And I want to be here. I just wanted to let you know that we're here. It's hard in 20 minutes to explain what we do and where we're from and what's going on. And I know it's really difficult. I want you to know we're available anytime at GYCC to just answer questions, to talk to you. If you have questions about pronouns, if you have questions about what the heck is pansexual, what is bisexual, what does all this mean? We're here. I'm here. I do lip read. I do have an interpreter. You can't see her, but she's on my phone here. So when you do talk to me after the service, I'm going to be fine. You just talk right at me. And if I need to ask questions, I will. My board is amazing. I have a diverse and wonderful group of people who show up in every emergency over and over and over. And they're there to answer questions and to be there too. And I just want to thank you so much for all of your support, for me. I have brought every single one of my gay babies to GPUU. They're all there. They've seen you. They love you. The last time we had our Transgender Day of Remembrance, I had community members bawling their eyes out because a church choir showed up to sing at their event. And then afterwards, they came and said, we just learned about gender diversity. We just learned what gender queer means. We just learned, hey, can we practice using your pronouns? They were amazed. It was a wonderful experience for them because they hadn't experienced that in their community before. And I just want to thank you so much and let you know I'm available anytime for questions. And thanks again.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, Molly. The emotions that are bubbling up in me I think are being shared by everybody else who is on this service today. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. And so I feel like our final hymn is really the appropriate hymn for us at this point. So let's all sing, There Is More Love Somewhere.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on
Spirit of life, if you have a lesson for us, it is that all life is beautiful. We are each born into this world who we are, tall or short, with our own color of skin, with our own sexual orientation. May we all be so bold as to not let the world define us by its standards, but rather by what is in our own hearts. And may we all remember how inextricably we are linked in this fight for justice and freedom. Amen, and may it be so. After the chalice is extinguished, you are invited to stay in this meeting for questions and answers with Molly, or go into a breakout room. But before that, I want to see you all up out of your seats and dancing to one of the biggest LGBTQ anthems in music history, and a song that particularly resonates with all of us during the time of the coronavirus. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Do you mind doing the last song with us?
Why not?
You ready?
I'm ready. Ethan does the best arpeggio of any musicians I've ever worked with. Let's hear it.